in Alameda for all our students.
That's awesome. Wow. I've been taking some notes, and I think the first thing I want to do is offer a couple of reactions for our own connection uh, and appreciation. So when I think about the stance you took with the work you did as a teacher and you've done as a district leader around PE specifically, that actually speaks to me on a personal level. One, as a student who never got that, like I got the old-fashioned competition, etc. I was not a fit for PE. I mean, I liked playing certain sports and all, but the setup of the class, that actually led to me cutting classes. That led to me because it wasn't a welcome place. It was a place of harm. And so that approach is beautiful, and that approach belongs everywhere. That's not a PE issue. That's about developing community, et cetera, which is so clearly in your blood. But also I want to say, as a principal, we had an athletic director who I believe had a very, very similar vision of yours. And it was not okay to have lower expectations for sports where we knew this was disproportionately the hook for our BIPOC students. And so we're like, no, this is the hook, great. And the expectations are low. Our kids they'll rise to whatever expectation we give them, as low or as high as they are.
Yes.
And our athletic director was like, no, not only do you need the 3.0, but on the days of games, you are coming in like you're dressed presentation ready.
Yes.
You're coming, and if you have an issue during the day, you can't be an ambassador on the court.
Yes.
You can't be an ambassador on the field. Like the expectations are so high, and this led to accelerated success in the classroom, just like you're saying. And I really appreciate you recognizing that we're not pushing our kids that they're either going to be good at sports or they're going to be academic.
Yes.
No, our kids are brilliant and they're talented in different ways. And our athletes are scholars and our artists are scholars and are whatever. And so I am feeling tremendous appreciation and warmth in that picture that you described. What I hear is that Alameda is not exempt from the same issues, and Alameda has the same. Am I pushing too hard if I assume Alameda has the same gaps that need to be addressed?
You are not. You are not. I've gone down the road of looking at data and statistics and talking informally to parents and even students. And I'm finding similar issues in Alameda, and going back to, again, I appreciate your words there, Greg, about sports as being an outlet for students, not just on the physical, but to raise that academic achievement and get them to succeed. So I think Alameda time is now. Yes, they would get somebody who has this experience with similar students, and I'm just looking forward to going that way. And get particular joy when you said they dress up for games, because we had the same thing. The boys had to dress up in ties, the girls had to be on their best dress, and on the day of games, they would come in and they would shine, and they would actually come and show me right in the early morning, look what I'm wearing. And I just remember buying ties for the boys, or having a male teacher showing the guys how to put on their first tie ever. And just seeing the joy in their face as they walked around with their bow tie or their, whatever. It was just one of pride and one of, family.
Right. Well, I appreciate it because you're talking about, like, when we think about, it's important that we're shifting the system, we're dismantling the system. And I think people think of that as this master, 10-year plan that we can't even start until we've got all the blueprints, etc. And yet what you're describing is dismantling the system, because we have a system that has a narrative about Black, brown, and poor kids that has existed forever. And now with an act of saying we're going to nurture our young people to be leaders and to look like leaders and act like leaders, you've already flipped the script. So they're walking around with getting admiration, being role models, etc. And that and that aligns so beautifully with the story of your life you're sharing, where you're saying my connection to community started with my own community. And I love that. And your explanation of how it plays out in your leadership and in your practice is a beautiful illustration of a commitment to community and a commitment to connection and a commitment to healing. And the only thing I want to say right now is you mentioned that your education was part of white supremacy culture. And I don't, for the sake of this recording, I don't know who will see this. I know that language is becoming more popular, but I want to give some teeth to what that means. And so when we talk about white supremacy culture, we're talking about, and tell me if you disagree with how I portray this, but
Okay.
when I think about white supremacy culture, I think about saying that there is one culture that is supreme over others, and the ways of that culture are the ways of being, and anyone else who has any other ways does not belong, becomes made insignificant or invisible. And some of the examples of white supremacy culture, which are fine examples for how sometimes we might exist within a mixed group, but is not the only way of being, is this notion of there only being one winner, like there's the top student, versus what you said, we work together, right?
Yes.
We go for collective success. The
Yes.
idea that there's only one way of learning or expressing learning,
Yes. Yes.
versus being able to express brilliance artistically and creatively, athletically, et cetera, et cetera. And so
Yes.
I just want to put out there that for the folks looking at this video, there's that white supremacy culture is not just a sort of a set of words that have just been put out there with no meaning. There's a lot of actual meaning behind that. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I just wanted to follow with that. Well, the I think one of the things that I have to say, for myself is I never made cuts on any of my teams, and I also told all my coaches that we didn't believe in cuts. So I had deaf education students on my team. I have autistic kids on the team, on my team specifically, and other teams,
Mhm.
because I think that sports is just like a classroom. I mean, you're inclusive and you bring everyone in. And what that did, it created a sense of family, that we are all different and we're going to embrace
Yeah. Yeah.
different. So I thought that I just wanted to make note of that. And then what you were just saying in terms of white supremacist culture, yes, absolutely. I mean, our students come with different attributes, and it's embracing where they are. And you said it. A PE lesson doesn't have to be so rote and it's
Yeah.
this way, one way. There's different ways to truth, or different ways to get to that task. And
Yeah.
that's what we need to develop right now during
Right.
this distance learning to